Screen. Oh, hello and welcome. Can you put that on my screen? If there's any technical issues, could you just drop a comment in the box to say that you can't hear us? Hear us.
Started really well.
Should we start again? Is this live? Hello and welcome to the All About Beer live show. If you have any technical issues, just drop it in the comments and we will try get it working ASAP. So a big welcome to our guests this evening. We are joined by Phil Norman, who is the brewery manager here at Steam Machine Brewing Company. We are joined by Alex Rattray, who is the, what do you call yourself these days? What's the title?
Like Yeast Wrangler.
I mean, I like Yeast Wrangler.
I've seen Texan Tornado.
Yeah, I don't know where Texan Tornado came.
Is that a job title, Texan Tornado? Sure. Did you get it because you were from Texas?
Yes, you have to be from Texas.
Amazing.
It's the only requirement.
So you are the head brewer?
Yeah, like a senior brewer.
Senior brewer?
Yeah, whatever.
Of the artist formerly known as Sonic 43.
Yes.
And we are also joined by Justin Cooper, who is the salesman / fixer-upper extraordinaire of Caps Off Brewery and other enterprises therein.
Odd job man.
Just
without the ball.
He was painting the other week, I heard.
It's a viscous room.
And I'm Nick Smith. I am the chief beer educator at the Fellowship of Beer. I also happen to be the co-founder of Steam Machine Brewing Company. So welcome one and all. So the Fellowship of Beer is on a quest to quench your thirst for beer knowledge. How does that sound as a slogan? Pretty impressive. I just finished writing it last week. We believe beer is fun and we'd like to share that with you. So we are going to, the running order today is we are going to start with a cheeky beer. We're going to have a short quiz for the panelists. Ha ha ha. We're then going to have a little chat specifically with Alex because he is the Texan Tornado Wrangler. He's going to talk to us about the American brewing scene, the craft beer revolution, how it's affected his journey. And then we are going to have time for another beer. We're going to dive in with a mystery challenge. Keep your taste buds fresh, guys. That's all I'm saying. And then we will have, we'll be getting towards the end of the show by that time. We'll have a little time to talk about beer and food. Then we will be having a few-minute break. And after that, we will be here as just a question panel to answer any questions you may have about brewing, about beer, about yeast wrangling, about beer and food, about how to do odd jobs, how to fix chillers,
How to put fairy lights up.
Anything like that. That's what it's about. So each show, we like to have an overarching theme, and today's theme is inspired by Triannuary. If you don't know, Triannuary is a January campaign that has been running for quite a few years now, which is about supporting your local businesses. It's about getting out there and trying something new, trying somewhere new, trying different beers. And we thought we'll run with that theme and we'll be inspired by that to talk about new and exciting things.
It's like Triannuary, it's like the arch rival to Dry January.
Yeah, it's like Dry January for fun people. Drink responsibly. So we're going to start with our first beer, which is in front of us. And Phil is going to take over because this is a Steam Machine beer.
This
is fresh from our tank.
Indeed, it is. And it's looking mighty fine. This is our Odin's Jam Jar. So this is a 5.5% Bilberry fruit shake sour. What is a fruit shake sour?
What's Bilberry for our American?
I think we start there. We've just made it all up. A Bilberry is a European cousin of the American blueberry.
It's like
Twice removed.
it's like the blueberry but better. It actually has flavour. It doesn't taste like squishy water. It's really intense. Yeah, and it's a sour fruit shake.
It is. We fermented with a sour yeast, and then finished it off with, was it US-05?
I can't remember now. I think we used New England yeast.
The knowledge on this panel is already
Absolutely
impressive.
It's
So
like
far.
we rehearsed.
I'm just going to sit down here and drink this glass. It's huge in my hand.
It's kind of inspired by a few different things. It's been inspired by the milkshake IPA craze of several years ago. So a lactose, fruity, thick beer. But then there was kind of like, you have the Florida Vice style emerging from Florida. And you had like kind of triple fruited gauzes. So it was kind of inspired by the amount of fruit and stuff that was happening in there with that sour element, but still with that thick body with plenty of oats and stuff in there as well. So we're billing it as a sour fruit shake, and it's the second time we've brewed it,
Yeah,
and it gets smashed a lot.
every time. The colour helps.
Yes, the colour helps.
It's very jammy.
Jammy,
It's very
jammy is a good word. Jammy is a good word. Right, how are we feeling? Are we ready for a quiz, boys and girls?
Always ready for a quiz. What's it about?
It's about new ingredients.
Oh, okay.
Are we ready?
Are you ready?
True. We are ready.
All right, these hours.
They're yours.
Our
You have
little
to decide
flashcards.
whether it's true or false.
Okay.
Without conferring, you have to hold up your answer, and then we'll discuss the answer. And I have been known to make mean questions.
Okay.
The first recorded use of hops in British beer was by French immigrants in the 15th century, and the nasty bitter flavour resulted in riots. True or false?
There are so many elements to that.
I'll go false.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just have to be contrary and go against you.
Because I feel like beer was already bitter, so that wouldn't have caused riots. So that's my
Interesting.
uneducated opinion.
I think there might
The
be.
rest
like,
of it sounds true, but
I think there might be. It's going to be the year or something. It's like, oh no, it happens like
Yeah.
10 years later.
I mean, that is kind of like the meanness that I would go for.
So yeah, I'll just go with it.
It is false, but there are elements of truth
Yeah,
there.
it's both. It sounded
There,
like-
there are elements of truth there, and I was kind of going to give you it either way.
Yeah.
So it was Dutch brewers, but at the time, the word Dutch in English language referred to people who were from the lowlands, people who were Flemish, and people who were German. So it could have been a mixture of immigrants. I
All those
can't.
damn immigrants.
Yeah, them immigrants coming over here, making our beer. I can't find any evidence of riots, but it is like a kind of a folk tale that riots ensued when hops were added to beer. It certainly wasn't very popular amongst the British natives, and it took them the next century or two to be acclimatised. Now, there were possibly riots when a law was passed dictating later on that hops had to be added to beers. So before hops, there were other plants used, or beer was completely unhopped. But yes, certainly the bitter flavour wasn't very popular. And it spawned two different terms, the term ale and the term beer, to differentiate between two different drinks, which stayed that way for several hundred years. Isn't that interesting?
It's
false.
many fronts.
Okay, so that was a new ingredient in the 15th century. Okay. The porters of London were originally made from 100% brown malt. True or false?
Just false.
Go true.
Sounds awful.
You can pretty much guarantee if you go opposite to what I say.
We discussed it before we started.
Like, who's the weak link? Let's see.
It is true. Well done, boys. Pale malt was expensive to produce. It wasn't for the likes of us. Crystal malt didn't exist. And yeah, 100% brown malt until the invention later on of patent black malt. And that wasn't for another 150 odd years. But why wouldn't we be able to? Why would it be difficult to do this now, Alex? chief tornado Texan man. Why would it be difficult to make 100% brown malt beer?
No one would drink it. That's a good question. Would there not be enough fermentables, maybe?
It's so the way brown malt is made now is not the same way it was made back in the day. So the brown malt these days has 0 enzymes for conversion. So yes, brown malt these days is kind of more or less just like a poor black malt. All right, are we ready? Are we ready?
You ready, Justin?
Yeah, I'm going to wait till you two.
Yeah. That's right. All right. In the 19th century, brewers could have used all sorts of ingredients in their beer, much the same as modern craft brewers do, like bilberries, all sorts. But the demand just wasn't there. But you could, in theory, have had raspberry English bitters. You could have had a cherry stout. Is this true or false? Were they allowed? Is this something that could have happened?
Is this England?
In England? Yeah. Is that true? Is that false? Who's going to be brave?
Going true.
Yeah, I'm going to be true.
They forced me into a corner. It's against my nature to follow everybody else.
Yes.
So just for everybody's amusement, I'll go false.
Yeah, so Justin wins this. So much the same as the German beer historically gets a bad rep, doesn't it? The Reinheitsgebot is quite a dictate. You shouldn't use that word when you talk about German.
Of all the things you get wrong for, I don't think that's really that bad.
Yeah, to be fair. We look at Brewdog; they get away with other stuff. Did we play that card already? No, later on. So much the same. So Germans had brewing laws that dictate what they could and couldn't put into their beer, and throughout British history, Parliament has also dictated the same. So if we take a step back, I said about black Peter malt, we were not allowed to use, English brewers were not allowed to use roasted barley because it had to be a pure malted grain. So we weren't allowed to use wheat, we weren't allowed to use oats, it had to be barley. And that was the same in the 18th century. It had to be pure barley. You couldn't have other stuff. I mean, they did. They put all sorts of nasty.
When did this change?
Good question. Probably late 1800s to early 1900s. You were allowed. You could put. There were concessions made that you were allowed to put sugar and sugar products in as a fermentable, but you certainly weren't allowed to put random stuff in that we do now.
Would you have to list them for export?
If you were sending them to America
or any country for that.
Yeah. Good question. I don't know.
One for next time.
Next question. True or false? Brettanomyces is Latin for Belgian yeast, due to it being common in Belgian styles of beer. That's got to be false.
I think that the back half of that is true, but I don't think that's what I mean.
I can't let that one get past me.
Does anyone know what it does mean? You're all right. It's false.
Well, we don't need to know what it does mean. That's fine.
Do you know what it means?
Delicious.
British, isn't it?
It does. It means British. Yeah, it's Greek though, not Latin. Could have caught you out there. It's a Greek term it's derived from Greek, and it means the British fungus. Bonus question here.
Good name for a beer.
Without true or false. Bonus question: what does it have to do with British brewing, if anything? Why would it be associated with British brewing?
I feel like you've told me this before.
Probably. It's the kind of thing I would bore you with on an early morning, just so you wouldn't remember it.
7:30 in the morning.
I was thinking it has something to do with farms, like breweries on farms.
It's a good guess. It's actually the opposite. So
it's not a good guess.
Completely wrong, but it's a good guess.
The opposite of farm being just not farms at all.
Just like industrial brewing. So most British brewing yeast would have been much like cacophony of yeast. It's a mixture of different Saccharomyces cerevisiae with some Brett in there and lactobacillus. British brewing yeast would have been the same. A bit like Belgian blends of yeast. Now that you would have brewed a beer with that, and you could have drunk that beer fresh, or you could have aged it away and it would have turned into something in the barrel that was something else. What happened in the 18th century and the 19th century, more so the 19th century, and you had like yeast scientists who were cleaning up beer strains and create a single isolate. So they would go to a family brewer and say, I'll clean up your yeast and find your best strain, and it will make the beer not sour, and you will have a single type of yeast in there. Now, what they did was they completely removed the strains that were responsible for the actual conditioning in the cask for the secondary fermentation. And that would have happened at a lot slower rate. So for the next 10, 20 years, you have people complaining that all the beer was flat because they weren't getting a natural secondary condition from Brettanomyces. So it's a traditional aspect of British brewing. Now, to kind of get a taste of that, you would have to look at specialty farmhouse beers, or something like Orville is probably pretty close to a British pale ale of the 19th century. All right, I think we're on the last question.
True.
Adding lactose is a phenomenon to beer. Is a phenomenon. Is a new thing for the craft beer revolution. True or false?
What is it?
New
What is
thing,
new?
what are you passing new?
Is it a fad that has happened since the craft beer revolution of the past 30, 40 years, adding lactose to beer?
I'm
True.
gonna say
Kind of
false.
fold it in
'cause I
half.
bet there's like
I feel like you're twisting the truth.
I'm not. This is a
Almost like you're-
straight up true or false.
Some
I'm not
sort of
twisting this
civil
one.
servant.
is that.
Lactose.
I bet there was like milk stouts a long time ago or
Oh,
something.
Oh
like that.
yeah.
Alex is on. Alex is on the right track. So after
I'm
those,
gonna go false.
After you just heard, I'm on the right track.
Literally just said I'm going false.
you've said false, but you've said true, but you've shown false.
Oh, yeah. Wait, no, it's false. Because you said it. Is it a new thing?
Oh, sorry.
False.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
I'm doing the questions next time.
If you arrived on time, you could have done some questions as well. Yes, so milk stouts have been a thing since the early 1900s. So that's why I hesitate to answer your question, Phil. When did it change? And Mackesons were the first people making a milk stout. They actually patented the technique of adding lactose to a stout. And then they licensed out this patent to other breweries around the country that weren't their rivals. So they made money on it, and they were selling it as a health tonic. So yes, they invented it, they patented it, and that was 1910, 1915, sometime around that time.
Nice.
Wasn't that where the fabled Mackesons for pregnant ladies?
It could very well have been, yeah. It was, there were all sorts of like health benefits to stouts being espoused at the time. You had special stouts being brewed that were essentially imperial stouts that were being marketed as invalid stouts. And that was in the early 1900s. Like,
Now that's a bigger name.
you want to buy an invalid stout.
Wow.
And like doctors and like royal colleges were saying, you should drink this. It's got health benefits.
That'll be Brewdog's next beer name.
Well done, everyone, for indulging me in my true
played.
or false.
I don't think QI's got much to worry about, has it?
If QI did it, I guarantee they'd get some of it wrong. Because beer myths, that's the wonderful thing about beer myths, is they are repeated and told over and over. Like, you have some of the top breweries in the world still repeating
The IPA.
stuff, like IPA myths and other stuff that is on the back of a beer bottle or on the back of a beer mat,
Yeah.
and it's just like repeat as fact when it's not.
Almost like marketing guff.
Yes. So if you want to look at busting beer myths, some of the best people who do that are...
You.
I just steal from everyone else. Martin Cornell is a British beer writer. He writes a lot on British beer history. He's written some great books. And also, I follow Ron Pattinson's blog. Ron Pattinson is a British beer historian, and his blog is Shut Up About Barclay Perkins. So that is a good blog to follow as well when you want to bust beer myths, because he puts all the data on there and historic recipes. Now, just quickly, before we move on, is that a question that's going through?
It's from Barry Clark on YouTube. Will invalid stout cure COVID?
Will invalid stout cure COVID? I mean, it's worth a go, right?
As long as you put could in there,
Yeah.
you'll be all right.
I mean, obviously, I'm not,
Not a doctor.
not a doctor. I make beer. and write silly quizzes about beer. But, it's worth a try. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Alex, welcome to the show. You're surrounded by veterans of the All About Beer show.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Just done one.
We would love to ask you, just in your own words, about what got you interested into craft beer, and really just to describe the American craft beer scene and the differences you found coming over to the UK to brew.
Yeah, so I guess interestingly, what got me into craft beer was actually beer here in England, funny enough. So I did a term abroad, and I was here, and I took a tour of the Guinness factory on like a little weekend away, and just like was fascinated by like the history of the story and everything, and like how he treated his workers, and just kind of that whole thing was just. I mean, they do it really well in the museum. They really suck you in. So so that kind of got me interested. And then so this would have been like early 2000s or no mid 2000s. Sorry. And then at grocery stores they started doing these like build your own 6-pack kind of things, and there'd be like this little section. There'd be like 30 or 40 just like single bottles, and you could just like pop them in the thing and just try different stuff. And this was like obviously on the early side of the kind of craft beer revolution. So there was stuff like strawberry blondes and, nothing like crazy. I mean, I remember talking to one of the guys at the store and be like, yeah, I don't like anything hoppy. I don't want anything like bitter. Because I was just getting into trying stuff. So that got me into it. And then my brother for my birthday got me a little home brewing kit. It was like the cheesiest little piece of junk plastic thing, but it had a little booklet in there, and it just kind of like a brief history of brewing. Probably had some myths in there.
Was it like extract?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pleased you said myths, because I've done that Guinness tour in Dublin as well in the early thousands, and they do repeat some of the same myths. I mean, they like to think they invented stout for a start, but I think London I don't like London, but they can keep that. That's fine.
Have that. It was effective.
Yeah, it's
a good story.
It's an amazing building as well.
Yeah,
and it's a really good attraction. It's good to walk around.
Yeah, and they gave you this little like plastic medallion kind of thing that had a little drop of Guinness on the inside of it. It's cool.
Did you go up to the bar on top?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Did they
have a bar? Have a pine at the very top?
Yeah.
Did they write "Have a nice day" in your pint?
They did something in the pint. I don't remember what it was. Might have.
Have you been?
Yeah, I've been. Yeah.
Have you been?
Done that? Yeah.
Did they write anything in your pint?
Not that I remember, but I was concentrating on my wife because she hates heights.
Yeah.
And so we took the elevator up,
Why
which
wouldn't
is
you take
outside, so she was facing the wall. We got in there. She essentially ran to the bar to cling onto the thing while I just wandered around. Like, ooh, look at the view.
It was like a massive thing, wasn't it? Having
Yeah.
the shamrock in the fall.
Yeah.
Did any of you used to watch Peep Show, the British comedy?
No.
Yes.
And he's like having a Guinness at the bar. He goes, "Whoa, no logo on the foam. Capitalism." It's like always makes me giggle. Okay, guys, do we have time for a quick beer of S43?
Yeah.
So
It's always
you brought a beer with you to talk about. Is that right?
I just brought some beer. Yeah.
Do
We want to go grab? Yeah. Just maybe those two right there. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Can we have some glasses, please, young Philip?
Yeah. So I actually just brought these guys so you guys can try them. Just for funsies, but so it's 2 IPAs we've done recently. This is the most recent. This was a collab we did with Marikai down south. Really nice guys, way all the way down south, quite small and new.
We've seen them a lot in social media about them actually.
Yeah, they do some cool stuff, like quite small. I can't remember even how we got like really in touch with them, but so we did a New England IPA with them. This actually has a little bit of lactose in it, and it's got some Galaxy hops in it as well.
Oh, very nice. Australian Galaxy, aren't they?
Yep, Australian Galaxy. So, so the idea was like I really like putting lactose into pails and IPAs and stuff. But this isn't a milkshake IPA. It's just like I don't really think if you didn't know the lactose was in there, you don't think you'd really pick it out, which is the way I like it. I think it just adds like a really nice kind of like creaminess and just kind of But something me and Ollie's, the brewer at America, we had talked about was that having like a little bit more bitterness in there than like a typical New England IPA. That's something that I like to do as well. So I like the haziness, I like the softness and stuff, but I still want some bitterness in there. And I think having some Galaxy in there helps bring about just like a little bit more of the greenness of the hops. And Galaxy, I find it's quite drying.
I love Galaxy.
Yeah, I love Galaxy.
So I think it balances it out nicely because it's fairly full bodied, and I think you get some like nice creaminess up front, but then it's quite dry on the back end.
It is very dry on the back end.
So
It's got a lovely bit of finish to it as well. We did. We've recorded a couple of videos yet to go up online about some of the IPAs you sent us before Christmas. And what was really nice about them is a lot of New England IPAs are very sweet and cloying, and it had a good heavy amount of bitterness in that, which we were like, yeah, give me that bitterness. I want to taste the hops, baby.
I think that's I think that just comes from like my brewing background because I grew up brewing like West Coast, and like in the States there was no difference. Like an IPA was a West Coast IPA, whereas now like there's this delineation between the two of them. So I think when I started brewing hazy stuff, I just always had that kind of as a base to work from. So and I really like sweet hazy stuff, but I do find that if it doesn't have any bitterness about halfway through, I'm just kind of over it, and I just I really enjoy the first half, but the second half I don't enjoy as much. So
we've been reading a lot about what's that brewery in Texas?
Pint House.
Oh, Pine House. Oh, love Pine House.
So we've been
Electric Jelly.
That was probably the first hazy beer I had was there.
Was it?
So they don't consider theirs a New England IPA. They consider it just an IPA. They use a lot of West Coast influence on that beer, which I find
the beer is like absolutely fantastic.
Is it?
They use a more of like a West Coast water profile.
Oh, really?
So Texas has quite hard water typically.
That's right.
And
Actually we were reading
Today.
Yeah,
and I think originally they had Galaxy in it. I don't know if they still do, but
they have they use a Kolsch yeast,
really?
which I thought was very interesting.
That's very interesting. Yeah, because I think too, if you're in a really hot climate like Texas, like having a super sweet flowing that's just not
Too
gonna,
much.
if you're sitting outside, it's just too much. So I think a lot of their beers I've had there are like that, where they have that nice just like dry finish, and it just makes it so much more drinkable. And it's
I agree with you. I know not all beer is meant to be refreshing, but obviously you don't have an Imperial Stout go. Very refreshing.
Just a minute, we see what's connection. Sorry. And it appears to be back.
Sorry there, guys, if we cut out for a moment.
We were drinking beer.
What can we say?
didn't miss it.
So could you tell us about how you have found the British craft beer scene compared to Texas?
Yeah, it's been really cool to just be exposed to something different. I think what's interesting about the UK kind of craft scene is that it feels like it's skipped a few places. Like I think in the States there was kind of this, everyone was into super bitter IPAs, and then sours got really popular, and then it was then lagers got popular, and then it was big imperial stouts, and then it was pastry stouts and New England IPAs and stuff. But it feels like here it's just gone straight to hazies and pastry stouts.
People are coming into it, aren't they, and just being overwhelmed by New England IPAs, and they don't. I think that is an IPA. And there's nothing. If you're West Coast, just completely freaks them out. Really.
Yeah, it's why is that clear? That's not an IPA. So I mean, that's just a different thing. I mean, it's cool because it's you get a real breadth of hazies here. I think the downside is I don't think it's quite as diverse, obviously, and it's a little bit more narrow. But I think that will change as
I think there is a bit of a backlash as well at the moment. I mean, certainly there has been from us at Steam Machine Brewing Company. Because we have a real mission of beer diversity, and we want anyone who comes in this place to be greeted by a menu of 15 completely different beers across the spectrum. But you do go to other tap rooms where they will have 10 shades of haze, which is fine if that's what you want.
Yeah.
But it's not what I would want to present to our guests.
Alex Redpath from Full Circle says, "Evening, guys." To everyone.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Congrats on the baby.
Alex is going to join us next time, actually.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh well, yes.
start with the good Alex.
That's how it did. His words, not ours, obviously.
Alex was
Alex, will you be on time?
technically just.
I was. I think a few seconds behind.
If we did this in the car park, he would have been on time.
Yeah.
We're moving to the car park next time.
Yeah, that's right. So we are going to play a little game now. And the game is macro or Indy.
Ooh.
You're going to have a taste of 4 different lagers, and you get to discuss amongst yourselves.
Oh, we get to confer.
You get to confer in this one. It's not look at what Justin does and decide something different. You get to decide whether it's a macro. My chair keeps sliding down. Do you notice I keep getting short?
How many is there?
Hello. There are 4 different beers.
4 different layers. And are you allowed to tell us how many macro and how many Indy?
There
kind of cheating.
are.
That's cheating.
Do you want me to? No,
That's
I'm
cheating.
narrow it down already.
Alex says no.
Okay.
He is the Texan tornado. What can we do about it? Okay. Well, we can ask the audience. Do you want them to know how many are macro beers and how many are Indy, or do you want it just to be a mean guess?
I will qualify my answers by saying that I have had very, very few macro lagers since I've been here. So
Me too.
I've
I've had very few macro lagers since you've been here.
I've never had Foster's. I've never had Moretti. I've never had Carlsberg.
I don't want to be a spoiler, but you may be in for a treat.
I'll strap yourself in, Alex.
So, just for the audience watching, macro beer is it's beer that has been brewed to maximise a shareholder's profit. It is not beer that has been brewed to worry about flavour and aroma and things like that. So there are some big baddie brewers in the world who churn out this kind of beer. They cut corners. Their aim is to get it out as fast as possible and maximise money. So SAB Miller, AB InBev, Heineken, Diageo, it's about some others.
The general consensus from the viewers is you've got to be mean.
Got to be mean. Got to be mean. All right, let's hand them out.
If you're mean, you give us 4 macro beers.
I'm having one as well.
That would be really.
I'm having one as well, just so I can
See, whereas we
share the pain.
we brew beer to lose money. Unlike the macro guys.
Brew beer for love. Shall we pick it apart?
Well, that's not macro.
It smells a bit corny.
Smell a bit corny. Like Justin's jokes.
Oh,
What is it?
I just
I don't
knew
think
that.
it is.
You're not allowed to comment on it, Nick, 'cause you actually know what these are.
It's not very. It's not very carbonated.
It's very sweet.
Yeah, it's quite sweet. Sweet corn. Sweet
Doesn't have much of an aroma.
corn.
Is this in the order I said it was?
I hope I don't offend somebody's brewery like it. If this is like an
I
independent
think
brewery.
it's quite interesting for craft beer channels, Bob, to see when you don't know what it is and the branding and stuff. It's quite interesting.
What do we think?
I think
I'm
that's
going to go
Indy.
and macro.
Your macro?
I think it might be Indy just because it's a little. I don't know what. I think it's a little sweet, maybe. So.
I'm
You can't comment.
okay. I mean, like I
know
can
what it is.
spoil
I
it.
will say it is crystal clear though, so that
It is crystal clear.
That does lend more for macro.
It does lager, doesn't it?
Just, yeah.
Do you want me to tell you what it? Do you want me to tell you
Sure.
which one it is?
Yeah.
It is a macro.
No, is it actually?
Would you like to hazard? Would you like to hazard a guess as to which brand it is?
That's
Oh,
something like Foster's.
It's not
Is it
Foster's.
Moretti?
No, I'll
No.
drop it down the country. It's from Belgium.
Stella.
It's
Stella.
All right.
That's all right.
It's all right. It's not too bad. Like I've had worse. It's actually got a little bit of hop aroma. Like I was surprised. That's why I was like, is this in the right order?
Did you watch the Beer Masters show?
Yes.
Yeah, and they had Stella in there.
Yes.
And I think we kind of dumbed down on Stella as being like the pure
Yeah.
Belgian cousin.
Yeah.
But when you look at what they do and how they do it,
I mean,
Yeah.
To consistently do that from your ingredients every time.
yeah,
I mean, the whole of Beer Masters, I really enjoyed it, but there was so much macro beer all owned by the same company. I can't remember. Was it AB InBev? Is it AB InBev Stella? I can't remember.
I think so.
yeah.
People who I think it's alright as well. Yeah.
My fried nights have just got a lot cheaper.
It's actually got a slight now it's been on my palate for a while. It's actually got a bit of a metallic taste.
I think it's just too sweet.
It's
Maybe
sweet.
that's the style. but,
Sweet metallic. All right.
Right, okay, failure.
Might buy some Stella. No, it wasn't that good.
Some calendar if you want it.
No, I'm alright. It was left over from Christmas. Not from mine, I didn't buy it. What we're thinking, any aroma? Any taste?
I don't get much aroma.
No, I don't think much about the last one.
It's really soft again.
It's right. It's very bready. Got some nice bready notes.
That
should be like
that's got to be Indy. If it like
What are we going for, boys? Indy or macro?
we're now waiting for Justin.
Do they all
So we think that's more of a pilsner with it, and then the breadiness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does have very pilsner kind of characteristic. Although there's not much aroma in it, but certainly the breadiness.
This is actually, I have to spoil it by telling you what it is before we discuss whether it's macro or Indy.
On top.
I don't know if it.
Can you hear us? We are just talking about whether beer number 3 Guns, Alex.
You guys are getting
weird
weird.
attitudes, though.
Are we on?
But maybe that's more indie.
I've just not been filtered.
Yeah.
Justin?
I'm
How would you rate this as a lager?
See, I would prefer to drink the Polar.
Okay.
This is a bit. The weird thing is, there's a bit more flavour to this that I was maybe not wanting in the lager that I've been
Okay.
drinking.
Really?
So that's why I might go into it again.
Yeah, I don't find it as like clean as the others.
It is Indy. Would anyone hazard to guess what it is or where it comes from?
Is it Czech?
It is Czech, Philip. It is. Do you know which one it is?
No. It's either Budvar or Sour
It is
Fruitshakes.
Budvar.
Yeah,
Well
yeah.
done. I am very proud of you. I smell those sour hops. I like. See, earthy. This beer is 100% owned by the Czech government, and they have been in serious cahoots with AB InBev over Budweiser stuff back and forth. We actually recorded a YouTube video about this on the Fellowship of Beers channel, so I won't bore you for another 10 minutes. So if you really want to go have a look, go on there. We ought to have a beer pairing on that. And we have one more beer left to go. Is it ready?
He's just going to get it out of
Indy. To be fair, our lager is as clear as that. I really like this beer.
Yeah, it just has a bit more to it.
Yeah,
Body.
bit more body. We keep getting told we have no sound, but I don't know.
If you can't hear us though, they
Technicians
wouldn't be able
drunk.
to tell us that they can't hear us.
Can you hear me?
That smells of. I get a real load of nothing.
Load of nuts.
So is
Absence of aroma.
Absence of aroma. Yeah.
Is it like a vacuum stuck in there?
Just nothing.
I like it.
Trying to work out whether there's anything in your glass.
It smells slightly sweet. Yeah, that's about it.
Smells slightly sweet. Okay.
I can see Phil walking at the end there.
I think this is a message for Alex from Alex Redpath. Says we need an Alex versus Alex.
What would it be? Would it be like a brewer's
Kicking out time.
death pit? Getting it for time. He's lost. We've won. Would it be who's got the coolest mustache?
I was thinking more kind of Street Fighter.
Street Fighter, yeah. Two brewers enter, one brewer leaves. Pit of
Chess.
death.
Finish him.
Yes.
Macro versus Indy lager tasting.
This feels very macro.
Yeah.
A limited experience.
I don't think
It's like taste of regret.
Yeah.
is that one. So that looks good. Okay, good luck.
General British too.
Hello!
Hi, sorry after that brief intermission. We've got a really expensive posh webcam that is really high quality, but it just decided randomly not to recognize the computer and then decided that it wouldn't turn off or on or off anymore.
Get Justin closer up now.
So we're just going to shout at the computer instead, if that's okay.
I don't think you need to shout that much.
We were told to shout.
If that goes fully green, you're shouting too much.
That's not a challenge.
Got a
What?
message.
Fully green?
Okay.
So, Justin, tell us what you've brought.
So I picked up a couple of beers today, just along the triannuary theme. Try new ingredients, try new beers, try new breweries. Oscar Blues Brewery, so a brewery I imagine quite a few years have had before. Death by King Cake. I don't know if we can see that. So just talking to Alex about what King Cake is. So it's a pastry from New Orleans, hence the trefoils, and lots of different colours of sugars they put atop the cake. Now it describes it as ale with vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, cacao nibs, orange peel, and pecan. So I'm quite intrigued to see.
They should have put more stuff in there, really.
Yeah,
I mean, it's triannuary. Let's be adventurous.
Well, I just thought, if there's not an ingredient you haven't had before there, then we're doing badly. I'm intrigued to see what ale comes out of the can with how it's described. So I'll let Nick do that.
Am I pouring?
Yeah, you can be mother.
An ambery, isn't it? What did we have by Oscar Blues last year? Did we have their Rose beer? Their beer.
The Guns N' Roses one, the Guns N' Rose.
Yeah, it was a beer de rose, wasn't it?
I think it was a beer de rose. It wasn't very rosé coloured. It's quite nice though.
So interesting. Well, maybe not interesting fact, but Oscar Blues, they have like a satellite brewery in Austin, which is just north of where I was.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Was it a good place to go to?
Yeah, they hadn't been open very long by the time I moved, so I was hoping that they were gonna have some, because they had obviously their own brewery on site. So when I was there, they weren't actually brewing yet, so all you could get was just kind of like the normal Oscar Blues stuff. But I'm sure by now they have some cool stuff that would be like only available on site.
Do you think the Death by Cake, do you think it's a reference to British comedian? My God, just completely gone out of my mind. It has a skit about death by cake.
They do a death by rage, or don't they?
Yeah, they do death by coconut and stuff.
Oh yes, they do.
I couldn't drink a lot of that.
It tastes like an American pumpkin beer, like spiced pumpkin beer. I couldn't say there's much difference.
That was one of my other choices. There was the Aberdale pumpkin stout, I think, was there. I left that because we probably all had pumpkin beers at some point.
I quite like them. I know that's not a popular opinion amongst craft brewers or craft beer
I liked
enthusiasts.
S43's.
Did you?
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah.
Did you make a pumpkin beer?
Yeah, it was 2
double
years
this
running.
year, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did an imperial version. So.
It was really, really nice.
Thanks for paying attention, Nick.
That's all right. They're in spirit. One of my early homebrews years and years ago was a pumpkin beer. Before I knew they were a thing, I just thought it'd be quite cool to put some pumpkin in a beer with some spices and vanilla.
Sometimes in brew pubs in the States, you can get beer served out of a pumpkin.
That's wild.
Why have we not done that before?
Why have we not
Fill
done
up a
that?
pumpkin, tap that, and yeah.
We had previously, we used to make a seasonal Halloween beer, pumpkin beer, that was called Witches' Ditches, named after local Aycliffe landmark that anyone aged between 30 and 50 would remember. It was like a ditch in Aycliffe that people used to ride the BMXs, mountain bikes down. Witches' Ditches, but the council filled it in with trees and stuff. So you can't go to Witches' Ditches. There is another place that you can do it called Bluebell Woods, and some of the youngsters confuse the two. The fools. What are they like?
Having missed a section of what's happened, is there a reason someone might have commented Eddie Izzard?
Eddie Izzard, yes.
Is that what?
Yes, thank you very much. It's the beer, I swear.
Yeah, I do remember that skit now. Yeah.
Yeah,
By the way, you just come back.
No, it's cake or death.
Cake or death. Cake or death.
And he still knows more about what's going on than we do.
So just before we wrap up, I would like you to taste some food, if that's not too much of a hardship. So we love pairing food and beer, and we love cooking with beer as well. Here at Steam Machine, we are always cooking with beer, lots of different things. So what I did was I went to the supermarket over Christmas, and I picked up. It's over there.
Was it an independent
Those things
supermarket?
that-
Or
It was Booths, which is an independent.
Yeah.
And picked up. I went looking around all different supermarkets, looking for where they have used beer as an ingredient, because wine is very common, right? I struggled a lot, but what we do have is we have some crackers, and a cheese. Now I know you don't eat cheese, which is fine. These crackers are made with ale hops and malted barley. We've got some cheese here called Hoppy Days. See what they did there? That's very funny. Mature cheddar with ale and mustard.
No, I didn't like that market.
So I brought also, because that was like going to be the only thing from supermarkets. Love the S43 pumpkin beer there. Comment. Well, thanks for sharing
Barry.
it.
Is that this?
No, but we just said it was similar to.
That's the king cake.
But that was a bit of a non-wholesome meal. So we've got some in-house beer pickles made with our own vinegar, barrel-aged vinegar, I'll have you know. And
Just a beer that
pretty much, yeah. And we also have some ale chutney as well. And there's some popcorn here. This popcorn has been made with the first beer that we tried, the Odin's Jam Jar, which was reduced down into a syrup, and our chef Rick popped the corn and put this beer syrup on there as well. Do you want to chop the cheese? Because I'm not very elegant. But yeah. So let's have a rate of, what we found in supermarkets made of beer. The only other thing I saw recently was a Tesco steak and ale pie, but it was like their own brand and it looked a bit suspect. It wasn't long ago that people were using horse in those kind of ready meals. So,
wow.
Alex Redpath, I drink a lot of Budvar, always got some in the fridge. Good choice. I mean, you could have just gone for a Stella. They taste better, apparently.
You've just gone for a Foster's. Save some money. Little, while not I guess it kind of is an independent.
Yeah.
They have a Theakston's steak and ale pie.
Did they?
Nice.
Worth checking out.
I haven't actually had it. I've been tempted.
You disappoint me because, my first memory of you was you turning up to Steam Machine with hot sausage rolls from a bakery. And
from the butcher in a village.
As far as I'm concerned, you are like the king of pastry meat goods now. Does anyone want to crack it before I pass it along to Justin, who's looking hungry?
I look like I'm wasting away
Enjoying
down
the
the
cheese.
What do we think?
What are the orange bits in the cheese?
That's the wax. That
Wax has been
wax.
removed from it.
Wax is Phil used a blunt knife to cut it. It's got whole grain mustard in as well.
Okay.
But yeah, the orange
That's
bits
fine.
are definitely the wax.
I'm just like great carrot.
Oh, there's a little bit. Or maybe that's just a wax.
How do we rate the crackers?
I don't know.
You didn't get one.
The pickles are nice. Not from the store.
These are really nice. These.
So what did you use for the pickle?
The pickle has some brown ale in it,
Mm.
and it's just like onion, courgette, raisins, and plums. That's it.
Well, the cracker's nice. It's very strong. I'm not sure it's the best cheese cracker, but the flavor's nice.
It is quite a strong cracker. If you'd like to know more about cooking with beer or food pairing and beer pairing, we have been putting a lot of stuff on YouTube if you search for the Fellowship of Beer. Well, we're also down with the cool kids on TikTok, and we do a daily food and beer pairing on TikTok.
It's mostly a dance, though.
I could do it with a dance if you like.
He wears a bikini while he does it.
Please.
They're only 30 seconds long, so on your lunch break or sat on the loo, you could just watch it if that's what you're into. Barry Clark, we missed the Foster's comments as we were offline. How did it go down?
Awful.
Not great, Barry. Not great at all. They instantly knew that it was a Foster's. No, well, they instantly knew it was bad beer. But yes, they weren't very impressed.
It was about what was expected, I feel like.
Do you want some
It
popcorn?
met expectations.
So is this with the audience jam jar?
Yeah. So we're going to wrap it up now at the end of the show. But what we like to do is have a couple of minute break, and then we will come back online. So if you want to hang around, we'll just open up as a panel of questions. We're going to share another couple of these beers. So thanks for watching us, and a big thank you to our panel for joining us. I hope they all come back again sometime soon. Next time, we do have a date, I do believe. We're joined by Alex Redpath next month. And we also have an online guest next month. We have Sheep in Wolves. Matty from Sheep and Wolves Clothing, who are a low alcohol specialty brewery, who are some of the new kids on the scene, and they're going to be joining us online because that's what the cool kids do when they're not on TikTok.
It will also be a dance.
We will also dance. So, Justin, Alex, thank you for being here. We would love to have you back again on our panel if you have been suitably entertained. And thanks for talking to everyone all about beer. So join us after a couple of minutes and we will answer all your questions that have been popping up throughout the show. Thank you, everybody. What? You've just all ditched me. Where's my wingman? I wasn't there. Welcome back. We have completely changed locations to Steam Machine from Barroom for our after party as we sit and scoff crackers and popcorn. We've got another couple of beers to talk through, so if you want a beer as well, grab a beer, and we're just going to chat away about all things beer, all things brewing, and stuff like that. Andrew Haley's going to come down and watch live next time. Andrew, as our #1 Facebook fan, you are welcome to come down anytime you like. You comment on everything. We look forward to seeing you here for a beer. So, which beer have we got now? We've got an out-of-date beer here. Do I have some? Can I have a glass, please?
So we've got the Beast. This is a smoked Russian Imperial Stout that we brewed a little over a year ago. But in poor forward sight, we only put a year on the best before. The best before is it's kind of like we just kind of guess about like when we feel like the beer will still taste like what we want it to taste like. So in hindsight with this, we should have put at least 2, maybe 3 years on it because it's tasting so much better than when we first brewed it.
I had this over Christmas. So before Christmas, you guys wanted to borrow some ingredients from us. And as a thank you, you sent us a load of beer, which is very nice.
As you should do.
As you should do. So I was going to share this with everyone who works at Steam Machine, but
what happened?
it was out of date, so I took one for the team. I took it home.
Took all of them.
I didn't want to risk it. And I thought it was absolutely stunning. In fact, I thought it was so stunning that I'd send you a message, but I couldn't find your phone number, so I didn't.
Wow, it's not that counts.
I
I think it has this really nice like tobacco-y thing going on.
It's very tobacco-y. It's
got
so
like we use beechwood smoked malt. And I think the smokiness is actually probably increased, but I think the alcohol is mellowed out a lot more.
Yeah, it's almost got like a bit of like red wine character coming to it as well, like at the back, the velvety,
nice.
Rioja-like tones. Any other questions? What forgot?
So where do we stand on best before dates?
It's completely up to us
Yeah.
as brewers, isn't it? You know, like I always feel a bit affronted by it because some of like the bigger breweries like Cloudwater created the craze of everything having to be drunk.
Drink it yesterday.
Drink it super fresh, drink it yesterday, and they kind of create this culture that all beer has to be drunk super fresh. And it's just not true. And, you know, the oldest beer I've tried was from pre-World War One. Granted, I won't, recommend it. But, beer keeps. Beer's not going to hurt you if it's past its sell-by date. It'll carry on developing. It'll carry on, aging.
Yeah, it's not a safety thing. It's just like a flavor thing.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
I think people might confuse it. If you think comparing it to like meat or dairy or something, you're like, oh, it's past its best by. I don't want to eat it. It's like.
Do you can condition or what's this can condition?
No. This was
False carbonated.
Yeah.
Because what you quite often find with can conditioned beers, like bottle conditioned and things like that, they keep a lot longer because they have like the oxygen scouring from the yeast, but they will change flavor components. They will fall in and out of flavor as they develop with age, and we'll gather more sherry notes. So, really, it is a guideline. If you see a best before date on a really good looking beer, just buy it. Have you lost it? Well, wasn't that a comment on there you wanted to put? No. Any more questions, guys? Did I not see one from Alex on there?
Should we just make up questions that people didn't actually ask? Like, why are you guys such good brewers? That is a good question. Glad somebody finally asked.
Just slap your CD.
Alex, who used to work for us, wants to know when the Turkish Delight will be back. See, she could also join the Battle of Alex's, but she might win. She's hard as fuck. When's the Turkish Delight going to be back? I don't know, Alex. Is the true question. Are we talking about my wife? She's maternity finishes soon. Smooth. See what I did there, guys? That's how you do it.
5 people watching, but no one's asking anything.
Well, this is
Answered everything.
a delightful beer. What else have we got? I don't know. You brought this one, didn't you? But
Yeah, it's another one that I just picked up for, that was kind of in keeping with the theme of trying something new, trying different ingredients. So cherry and I can't help myself from saying rhubarb.
I hate it.
Do you?
Rhubarb, yeah. I think it smells like
Is that the
grandma's
tea? Yeah.
bedrooms.
Crack it open.
Or cherry, I hate tea sour.
I mean, I love tea.
Question on YouTube.
I love posh tea. Question on YouTube from Barry Clark. Alex, what is your favourite S43 beer of 2021? His was the Zinzan or Hazy River Dan.
Yeah, those would definitely be in my my top there. Actually, I think we did a West Coast Pale called Jorts, and I think that might have been one of my favorites because it was just like a really nice, just easy drinking, like bitter West Coast Pale. I thought that came out really nice. So it's not a super sexy beer, but yeah, as far as like coming out exactly how I wanted it to, that's probably the one that did.
And that's the trick, isn't it? We had a busy brewery tour here at the weekend, and the people were asking, how do you go about designing a recipe? And it's like, well, I picture, I'm sure you're the same, we picture exactly what we want to be drinking, how we want it to look, and then we set out to achieve that as best as possible. Much the same as cooking, really, isn't it?
So do you sometimes find that you're more excited by a beer that turns out exactly the way you want it, rather than just an outstanding beer?
I would say
Yes,
that it's very rare, as we get more experience as brewers, that a beer doesn't turn out like we expect it to.
Or is that more exciting to you?
Yes.
I think I get more excited about the design process.
Yeah,
'cause
it's
I
the
can
planning.
imagine-
It's the planning and things like that that go into it, and then when it turns out, when you've really give something some thought, and it turns out exactly how you want it, then.
And what's amazing is like you can taste that finished beer before it's finished. Like we will taste from the FE and we know exactly how that beer is going to taste when it's done. Like bloody hell, that's going to be amazing when it's finished. That's how I envisage it to be. Are you the same?
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of mine don't turn out the way I want them to turn out.
No.
So there's another question from Barry on YouTube, which is same question to all the others. What was your favourite beer that you brewed this year?
Oh my god.
I guess it was technically 2021, wasn't it? 2021.
2021.
We really liked Odin's Jam Jar, didn't we? We were quite happy when that came out like that.
Yeah.
Favourite beer though, that's really
Could you
hard.
get some little glasses?
Helter
That's
Skelter
actually-
Crisis, our double IPA.
Oh yeah. And we can condition that actually, didn't
We
we?
can condition.
That was
it,
the only
yeah.
beer we can condition last year.
And that's another one you talk about drink fresh, but even now, like 5 months on, it's still tasting like really, really good.
So the cheese. Which beer am I most proud of? Our last batch of Hannah of 2021.
In the quest for a perfect lager.
Quest for a perfect lager, yeah. It just turned out crystal clear. It was made with heritage lager malt, brewed with SARS and a little bit of Mittelfruit, and just for me, it's my go-to beer. I love all kinds of beer, but there's something really technically satisfying about creating a really beautiful lager that tastes right. And because there's nowhere to hide in lager, there's no room for mistakes, there's no room for error. So it's kind of like completing a really difficult level of a computer game or something. It's like, yes, done it.
It's like getting that Wordle.
Yeah, it's like, do you do that?
No.
No,
my wife does.
It really annoys me. Everyone on beer Twitter is wordling. You're a wordler, aren't you?
No.
Are you not?
No,
I took you down.
I took you down with the wordler.
I have, and I'm really old school. I have a book at home that has different brain teasers for every day of the year, and I do that with pen and paper. And the last thing I need to do is another on the internet exercise.
I mean, planning a beer is like a mental exercise anyway, isn't it?
Spreadsheets and stuff.
So this is Justin's choice by Totally Brewed. This is the Red Bush and Cherry beer. Cherry tea sour.
Are they English?
Totally Brewed, I think they are.
Yeah.
Totally brewed, yeah.
Where are they at?
I didn't actually read the
Yeah,
calories.
yeah.
I just went, that sounds really interesting.
Red,
I'll
I'll
have
take it.
that. It fulfills the criteria.
Do you know
that
what?
I've been asked to,
Justin, what was your favourite caps off beer?
what, this last year?
Last year, yeah.
Then Nottingham.
Not even.
Correct.
It's a close one thing between the session IPA that we're bringing back, which adds into our core range, and then one of the call-outs we did West Coast Pale with Board Machine.
Oh yeah.
Beer houses.
They're nice guys. Met them before.
Kimmy's awesome. Freddie, who ran around the brewery like an absolute maniac.
So they're two Finnish brothers, aren't they?
Yeah, well, Kimmy, and his brother didn't meet Kimmy's brother, but Freddie was there on the brew day. Essentially, does like most of the brewing, and we did that one with them. And I think, like Alex was just saying, it was just straightforward West Coast Pale. Did exactly what it needed to do. It absolutely flies out on tap. And it was nice to do that with someone who kind of gave us an insight into, because we use Quebec.
So they ferment all of theirs with Voss, don't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
Voss.
All of their beers are fermented with Voss.
So yeah, I was really happy with that beer, not only because like I kind of set the thing up and whatever, but it kind of said to us we can do those things, and it's sold really well, which is what it needs to do.
Cool.
Nice guys. I spent all weekends with them at a beer festival. It was at Brinkburn Street Brewery, and they had the stand next to me. And it was great. It was nice.
I think the best thing that came out of that brew day was the name of the beer.
Oh yeah.
Because it was just a culmination of conversations we were having during the day. So that name would mean absolutely nothing to anybody outside of the brew day, which I think is 90% of beer names now. Anyway, they're just lots of in jokes.
We also planned a collaboration that never happened, and it was because they have machine in their name and we do. I think it was just going to be welcome to the machine.
Another question we received from alumni Kevin Chester.
Kevin Chester, completer of the first cohort of the All About Beer Life course.
Indeed. He's asking, is macro brewing the same as liquoring back?
I mean, most macro lagers will be liquored back. So liquored back is, for anyone watching, liquored back is where a beer is made to, let's say, an 8% strength, and then they will water it down to a 4% on completion. So they will be doing that to save space. That's a very common practice. Whether all macro beer is liquored back, I don't know. Liquored back can also refer to if you have brewed a beer too strong by accident in the boil in brewing, you could post kettle, water it down to your correct gravity to achieve your right gravity to adjust basically. If you were too high there, it's a bit hard to do it the other way around. Just have to boil it for longer, I guess. Increase your melanoidins. Oh yeah, good question. I mean, there's all kinds of corners which are cut in macro brewing of lagers. Like a lot of them are fermented reasonably warm, and for very short periods of time. And then, the term lagering literally means to store, and they're called lagers because they were cold stores for a long period of time. And ironically, a lot of macro lagers aren't lagered at all. They undergo a very clean, fast fermentation, and then they are filtered, triple filtered with Kieselguhr and all sorts of other nastiness to strip out all the flavour. And then this is then used by macro brewers as a selling technique. Like, this beer was triple filtered, you should buy it. It's even better than normal because it was triple filtered. It's like, or like, we made this with rice. It's like as if this is a selling point, whereas not. Actually, it was just a cheaper fermentable for them to save money on their overheads. So yes, good question.
So we're about 20 minutes overtime at the moment. We'll leave it another 5 or 10 minutes. So if anyone's got any burning questions for the panel, drop them in the comments and we will get to them. If not, you guys just keep drinking beers for another 10 minutes.
Just a good chance to drink the S43 Waste of Space. Is this a new beer?
No, I think we canned this maybe like October, November time.
Didn't bring us the good stuff then?
Nah. Whatever was closest in the fridge.
Well, if it's old, I'm going to use the same glass.
Might as
I can give you a new one. I've got several here.
I'll have a new one.
How big would you like?
I've
civilized.
Give me a pint.
I've had I've had this before actually.
Yeah, so this is like
You sent us one of these.
You're just making this for all the stuff.
Phil, do you remember? They sent us one of these?
Yeah.
yeah, this
I
is
had,
like
I had to buy mine with money.
Okay, you've got a question.
Question here, guys.
It is really nice. I've had it
There's one by Barry on YouTube. What leeway do you have to hit ABV on a beer if you brand it as 7.1 ABV? Does it have to be bang on?
No. Let me remember this.
So under 5.5%,
You're allowed to be out by 0.5%.
and above 5.5%,
It's a whole percent.
a whole percent.
Now, that's designed for people, small breweries like us, who may have already printed their artwork.
On top of it.
At Steam Machine, we don't do that, because we don't have a core range. So our beers are the strength they are because we've made it, we've tested the ABV, then we're quite lazy and then get our label done. But who takes advantage of that is back to slagging off the macro brewers. Like Carling, not so long ago, it was only about 3-4 years ago, they were in a court case because they were, I think their Carling is 4.1%, isn't it? But they were brewing their beer religiously to 3.7%, and which isn't a problem that you're allowed to. The law's there in place, but it means that people are always drinking 3.7% lager and thinking that's a 4% lager. It's not. And then what they were doing, they were then declaring the duty on the 3.7% instead of the 4.1. Whereas as small brewers, we would be declaring the duty on what we said it was. If we'd made a mistake, you would still be declaring that the duty that you were saying it was. They were arguing, well, it's not, it's 4.1, but we're allowed to be out by 0.5%. It's actually 3.7. So we're only paying 3.7% duty. I don't know what the result of that action was, that legal action. I think they won it, probably because they have very expensive lawyers. But yeah, they got off on a technicality basis.
There's a lot of it going on.
And that saves them. So the reason they're brewing at 3.7% is because they've saved 20% of their ingredient costs, and they've saved 20% of their duty costs. That they've saved a hell of a lot of money there, whilst doing that. So why that kind of rubs us up the wrong way, especially because we brew strong beers, generally speaking. That it's not, most of our beers are like 6.57%. And we would get a reputation early on. People are like, it must be stronger than that. Bloody hell, I went in there, I had 4 pints and I was unconscious on the pavement. So, yeah, it must be stronger than this. I know it's not. We advertise to the strength of our beer as it is. People are just used to drinking 3.7% beer and not stuff that's 6 or 7%. You're allowed to drink in small measures. Small measures is cool, guys. This smells lovely, by the way.
It's amazing.
It's a party measure, isn't it?
Mm.
An indoor party with 30 people to kick.
Yeah, that's really bitter as well. That's lovely.
Yeah, so this is probably one of my favorite styles to brew. So it's a hazy beer, but it's specifically designed with more West Coast hops in it, and then quite a bit of bitterness. So we'll add a decent amount of kettle hops, whereas normally we're not putting any kettle hops in a hazy. So it's got Cascade and Centennial and Amarillo, stuff more you'd associate with West Coast stuff, in addition to more modern Citra and stuff. So.
Did you use Cascade in the boil?
I know there's Cascade in the dry hop, and it's pretty heavy as Centennial in the Whirlpool, but I don't remember what was in it. I think we used. I don't remember what we used.
I usually really dislike Cascade in the boil, which is why I was asking. I find it gives a really aggressive mineral type taste. Whereas if it's used on a dry hop, I find it quite elegant. And
I know it's in the dry hop. I don't remember what it was in the kettle.
It's delightful. And there's some. Is this can conditioned on it?
No.
There's some nice yeasty chunks in there, which I'm a fan of.
Probably rolling around in my car on the way home.
That's what we like.
We're going to give it another 2 minutes. Any more questions that people have got? 2 minutes, and we'll put them to the panel. Other than that, we are going to wrap it up in the next 2 minutes.
Well,
I sound like a cattle auctioneer, don't I? You'll know this better. I'm not quite that fast, am I?
Nah. Yeah, you gotta be real fast on that.
Thank you, guys. We will start winding down there. Oh, no, there's a question there for Kevin. Get it out. Right. Cancel the exit.
So we're saying, I'm hoping to bring my first Impy this year.
What do you mean? Do you mean Imperial Stout or do you mean
Very
Imperial Malt?
small. And, what would you recommend for post-fermentation additions for a beginner? I added cacao and vanilla to a stout, but I want to try fruit flavors.
In an Imperial.
Go on, Alex.
Cherry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't generally, that's just a personal thing. I generally don't like fruited imperial stouts typically.
It's just clarified that it's an imperial stout. Just in case we were
Yeah.
confused.
Just because what you have to be careful is the acidity and the pH. So stouts already have a low pH generally because of the dark malts. So then if you're at it, some fruits can really bring your pH down and make it quite sour and kind of tart. Now, if you're going for that, that's fine. But I mean, I think cherry, is kind of a classic. I'd be okay with like a imperial cherry stout. I know people have tried blueberry stouts and stuff. I just don't find it works for me. Maybe even if it's like a pastry stout, I don't know. There's just something about it. It's the mushy water flavor.
I think it goes back to what you said earlier, that it doesn't really give anything else to the malt.
Yeah.
No.
And Alex makes a really good point there, is that if you are designing something, you can't treat an ingredient as just an add-on. You need to design it from the ground up to be appropriate for that ingredient. So if you know you're going to have a low acidity, perhaps consider not using quite so many roast malts and try combating that somewhere. Trying to use complementary flavors from like the cacao and the vanilla to back sweeten it if you are going to have quite a bit of acidity. If I was going to do it, I would really up my lactose to try get some more sweetness behind that, because you are going to get acidity from the fruit. That being said, I have experimented. The wildest fruited stout I ever did was fermented 100% with, well, it wasn't a Breton, it was a Brettanomyces at the time, but it was being reclassified. It was Brett like Trois.
Oh yeah. A couple times, yeah. It's really cool to work with.
Yeah,
You ferment it like quite.
Oh, we're back.
Hey.
And what I did was I put some tropical fruit on secondary rather than using any of the boil, like some fresh fruit, just to get some of those flavors. But I looked at other ways to get some of those fruit flavors. So I used like tropical citra and things like that in a dry hop, to kind of give the impression of some of those flavors without actually using those. So I've also experimented at home. I've made a blackberry stout for home brewing, and I've used Bramling Cross as a late hop, dry hop to kind of give some of those tones along with some real blackberry. So you can look at trying to get some of those fruity notes into the beer by decreasing the amount of fruit, still using some of the real fruit, but decreasing the total amount that you use. So good question. Good luck with it. I look forward to tasting it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, just to sum up, we've got a thank you from Barry. Thank you for answering my question.
Barry, you're most welcome.
Anytime,
Thanks for
Barry.
joining us, Barry.
And we've got thanks from
Why I'm here, Barry.
Kevin. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Nick.
Justin, Phil, you've been
Fuck
average.
you, Billy, Justin. Useless. And I'm going to wrap it up there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for everyone joining in. Thank you for bearing with the tech issues. We are upgrading our technology very soon. So hopefully,
Drones.
Hopefully in the next month.
we're not going to have drones for the live, Nick. But hopefully we'll get rid of those issues. If you've got any questions you want us to cover in the next live shows that are coming up in the future, just drop us a message on socials. And
if you could follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube, it would be greatly appreciated. We are putting some good content out on there. And by supporting us and liking us and sharing us, it really helps us do all of this stuff for fun in our own time like we're doing now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Also,
Cheers.
very, very last minute.
All right, last minute.
I'm just going to throw in there because I just need to close this chat down. There is also a 50% discount for the All About Beer course.
Woohoo!
For anyone that is interested in learning a little bit more about beer.
It's kind of like that quiz at the beginning, but you won't feel bad. It's 5 hours long, but you'll actually get
You'll
the
know the
questions
answers
right.
at the end.
Yeah.
Justin set the questions for it.
I will now.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Love you. Bye.
I'm off to buy 24 cans of Stella.